Добрый день, дорогие коллеги. Надеюсь,
Hello,
меня...
distinguished colleagues. Hopefully you can hear me well and see me well. I'm very pleased to welcome all of you this remarkable event. And our UNESCO office has been participating in this event for the second year straight. This is the second Nanjing World Forum, organized annually by our colleagues from the UNESCO Beijing office, together with the government of province of Jiangsu and Nanjing. And last year we talked about the role of youth in a peace building. Today our topic is even more interesting because it touches upon what is relevant right now for our youth, creative industries, and what's always relevant, cultural heritage. So today I'm going to be your moderator. My name is Arina Mesayet. I think I know already many of you. And some people are still going to get connected as they come back from their universities, from their studies, and we'll be getting started. The format of this event is a webinar. Today we'll have some speakers speaking in front of you. In this format, we call it the case study dialogue. Case study dialogue, when we basically share some experience, knowledge, in real case studies from Central Asia and also Azerbaijan. And there will be some time when our young audience will be able to ask questions or offer their ideas. So there will be this so-called youth intervention, so that our speakers don't get bored, neither do you, so that no one gets bored. So let us be very active. We're going to have chat where we will have all of your questions, all of your concerns expressed. I will read this aloud. I'm very pleased to see you, Mundipa. I'm very pleased to understand that Tajikistan is already with us. So let us start. We also have the opportunity for the simultaneous interpretation. If it's more convenient for you to listen to us in English, so please switch to English. Just click on the globe sign and choose English instead of Russian. And I think we can get down to the very brief opening ceremony of this session. So I'd like to give the floor to our distinguished director of the Almaty Cluster Bureau of UNESCO for Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan, Ms. Krista Pickett, who has been an active supporter of all of our youth initiatives, and many of you present here know her very well. Krista, over to you. Thank you very much, Arina. Hello to everyone. Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues, participants, guests, experts. Today's session, well, as part of the annual Nanjing Forum, just like the last year, we're organizing it this year, and we're very pleased that we can also take part in this global symposium, and we can make our own contribution. The topic of cultural heritage has always been relevant since our heritage defines our identity, understanding of our origins, and basically this enables us to be open for dialogue with the others. Understanding our culture and heritage enables us to better interpret today's world and helps us to learn more about the other cultures and relations versus other culture. However, in the quickly changing world, following the technological advancements and education, preservation of cultural heritage, safeguarding it often becomes secondary, which causes certain implications, ignoring the cultural values for the future generation, neglecting it. Would like to protect some of the cultural heritage facilities from armed conflicts and destruction, the intangible cultural heritage, traditions, customs, ways of self-expression, knowledge, and skills that are passed from the generation to generation happen to be under the threat of digitalization of youth, the impact of social media network, and fewer or no attention paid to their regional culture. So basically the mandate of the Convention of 2003 on the safeguarding of intangible cultural heritage, designed to protect this fragile heritage, will need to make sure this is viable and will need to create conditions for the full utilization of its potential for the future development. This is becoming more and more relevant. Today, you can see the very bright growth of the creative industries development, both in this region and worldwide. The development of creative economy is one of the priorities of many countries, including the countries of Central Asia and South Caucasus. So I need to know that this region has a lot of potential for the development of creative industries because this sector is one of the fastest growing in the modern economy, and this one employs the largest number of young individuals. Youth comprises half of the population of Central Asia and South Caucasus. Well, the intangible cultural heritage is of great importance because modern creative entrepreneurs often get their inspiration in the forgotten past. They basically turn the recipes of our grandmothers, mm, the gastronomical arts. The artists turn past into their modern pictures, ornaments, and motifs of the past are being used in modern creations. Musicians create unique bits, and the musical industry, the skillfully get the improvisation skills that our predecessors passed to us. Today, we see that the cinema is setting a new trend, trying to actualize the heritage of the past via the uh, new productions. Netflix also is trying to actualize many of the movies related to our past. So we can say that the creative industries as the important conductor of our cultural heritage and it's transferred to the future generation. The cultural diversity that is called cultural industries is not only capable of promoting the intercultural dialogue, but also can ensure peaceful relations amongst various cultures. Since our target audience today is the youth, I just would like to call upon you, please remember about your cultural heritage. Please stay curious and learn more about the other cultures and keep your desire to popularize your culture. Please train your unique features and become creative specialists, which we're going to hear more about and see from the screens of our television sets, our radios, international exhibitions, or newspaper headlines. Your generation is different from the previous ones because you live in a quicker and more interrelated world. So what's important is for you to feel the citizens of the world who value the cultural diversity and are the active conductors of peace. I just would like to express the words of appreciation to our colleagues from the UNESCO office in Beijing, the China's National Commission on UNESCO Information Bureau, the province of Jiangsu, and municipal government of Nanjing for the invite of our bureau to participate and to be able to make our own contribution in this dialogue on the global level. I'd like to thank all of our distinguished speakers who joined us today for sharing their experience and knowledge uh, uh, with the young people. Only via this dialogue we can achieve peace, understanding, and tolerance. And also would like to thank our distinguished colleagues, Arina, Aygul, Majer, Zulfia. So thank you very much to all of you. I'd like to wish you some luck, and we'll see you soon again. Krista, thank you very much. That's been a very useful inspiration you gave to our young people who are with us, who are going to be watching this recording. So thank you very much. And with your permission, I would like to pass the floor to our keynote speaker today. And I think many of you know her based on her creations and based on her name, Maria Alnitska, or Mimi Alnitska, the well-known Kazakh artist, illustrator, the founder of her own brand, which is in fact transforming cultural heritage of Kazakh culture into the brand new concepts, and plus monetizes all of these things and is one of the well-known players in the creative industries of Kazakhstan. Mimi was born in the city of Almaty, graduated from the Kazakh National Academy of Art, named after Zhurgenov, also graduated from the Kazakh Academy of Architecture. So she's using various innovative tools for creative art, and her works of art are highly popular far or away from Kazakhstan. Mimi is with us, so let us welcome Mimi. Over to you. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for this warm introduction. I'm really flattered that you invited me because I believe myself to be a self-proclaimed ambassador of Kazakhstan every time when I leave the borders of this country, and I've been here from the very birth. I try to advertise and tell interesting stories about Kazakhstan. I'm not Kazakh ethnically, I have Polish and Ukrainian roots. I basically can feel this culture and I can actually see how Kazakh people do and how to promote this further. Via all of my production, all of our products would like to show that Kazakhstan is a very rich country. Living here is very cool. Even my husband, who was born in the other country, he cannot leave this country because he likes it here too much. Everything that we do in our drawings, we're trying to elevate Kazakhstan to show how beautiful it is, how cool it is living here, and all of the points that had been listed before. The digitalization, huge volume of information, the huge change of cultures is really pulling us away from our heritage. But this is a big plus because we can translate this worldwide simply via Instagram or TikTok. Everything I do, this is always about Kazakhstan. I try to show these things, not just visually. If I create um, this postcard, uh, on the other side, I'd like to write down that Kazakhstan is a place of origin of this beautiful flower. Or even by taking this well-known picture, the birth of Adam, well, and I give a piala in the hands to the hands of the Zeus, because this is really cool. Because when you come to someone, you are being met with some very nice cup of tea. So this is really important. Why this is so. Understand that why this is important in Kazakhstan. Even if we do this face masks, I have some Kazakh ornaments on this mask, and in the packaging, I can tell you that you can find this in our museums. This was found on our land. You do not just wear these masks in these difficult times, but there are national ornaments that protect your souls, according to the Kazakh tradition, wearing it in order to create some sort of token of protection. And all of my paintings, when I show it, everyone enjoys that they're beautiful, but it carries a lot of sense. And I must show that our traditions are so cool and so interesting to be translated to the rest of the world. I'd like to show you one of my favorite pictures here in Almaty. It's a beautiful Kazakh child, a boy. He is holding a boursak, a Kazakh bread, and some tea. He is dressed in a Balenciaga clothing. Kids in Kazakhstan get some of the best. He is dressed in this fancy clothing, but this is the favorite grandchild who is getting the first boursak, the hottest and the tastiest, and a hot cup of tea because whatever respect grandma is paying to the other guests, the first respect goes to this very child. And all of the pictures, if I tell you about this, it's got this, it carries the message how rich our land is. So this is really valuable when you can tell people, show it to people. If you wear this case on your phone, it tells us about the Kazakh traditions. Kazakh teacup, piala. This is the first thing that gets in the hands of new young family, and they would treat with this tea all of their neighbors. In some of the cultures, the honeymoon is the month of rest. In the Kazakh family, this is a month of intensive labor. So basically, Kazakh culture is a huge source of inspiration, and for me, this is real wealth of everything. And so I'd like to shout to the rest of the world that this is so cool, and there is a lot of sense by simply treating someone with a good cup of tea. Okay, what else I'd like to say? Well, I myself also, I'm studying Kazakhstan, and all of the students, if you're from Almaty, you can come to me. I have a beautiful studio, lots of space, lots of ideas. You can share those ideas with me, and I can tell you what other channels you can use to promote our culture, how you can show this on the internet about how rich Kazakhstan is, how interesting it is, how many tools are out there. We can broadcast this not just locally, but globally. Thank you, Mimi. Well, in fact, well, in this highly informative intervention you showed based on the life examples, that something that what we would like to tell our youth, that using your entire creative, innovative potential, you can make the cultural heritage so popular that it will be a subject of discussion for quite some time elsewhere. I can see in the chat there is like a bomb being exploded because this is so cool. And also shared Mimi's Instagram page so that you could check out that entire atmosphere that she just described. So guys, if you have any questions to Mimi, we have a few minutes to accommodate those questions. If you travel by Almaty or you live in Almaty, it would be cool if you visited Mimi, if you had enough curiosity to visit her studio and actually to see all of those pieces of work she's creating. Mimi, may I ask my question, please? Every artist, every poet, he or she, they have her muse. Who is your muse? Well, I mean, the muse of the cultural heritage. My muse is every day because my creativity is like a diary. I came to Kazakhstan. I used to live in the far north, and I used to draw people of the north. And I came from there to Kazakhstan, and I got impressed. If you go to the Sberbank in the peninsula of Yamal, people are dressed in the deer skins. So this is really cool. People live in the contemporary world, but wear clothes made of the deer's hides. When I came to Kazakhstan, I said, how come you're not wearing your clothes? This is so stylish. If you mix it with the modern clothes and use some cool brand bags, all of the global designers will get really impressed. So my creativity, my daily life, I'd like to express on people's thoughts, people's worries. Being in lockdown, in Instagram, I organized the online exhibition. I posted every new paintings every day to create some positive moods. So if now I'm in Kazakhstan, I draw Kazakhstan. If in Indonesia, I draw something from Indonesia. In the far north of Russia, I would draw something of the nature. I was really surprised how many cool things are out there. Any piece of clothing has a lot of sense. This is really cool, and I would like to thank you for your time, for your presentation, because the more we see real case studies, real examples, well, for me, I just immediately wanted to draw some picture. Well, yes, this is ideal. It's a healthy patriotism, highly infectious. So please come to me and we'll do it. Thank you. Thank you very much for accepting our invite. Thank you for your time. I'd like to wish you a good day, and we'll just continue with our agenda. Here I would like to move to the working point of the session. 5 experts from completely different countries are present in our panel discussion today. And we can see the huge interests on the side of the young people, interest towards what the artists, painters, movie directors, art critics do. So basically, our first speaker today will be Alina Altenbekova, who is a well-known designer and restoration specialist. He works at the lab of the full cycle conservation, restoration, and science reconstruction of the culture, monuments of culture and history. You know, they probably know this. It's called the Crimea Island. She's a unique specialist in graphical reconstruction. She graduated as Mimi, the Kazakh Academy of Construction and Architecture. After that, studied at the Hermitage School of Restorations, practice in Cairo, in Egypt, and today she is with us to share her experience and to tell us about how the reconstruction can be used to visualize historical and cultural heritage. Alina, I'm passing over to you. I'm here as your support. Thank you, Arina. I'm pleased to see you all. We're pleased to see Maria. I've been your Instagram follower. Being at the same event, I really like your works. My name is Alina. I'm very pleased to be here. Thanks to Majer and the other organizers for the invite. So today I'd like to tell you, maybe some of you have seen some presentations like this, so just keep on delivering those. I just would like to show you something about our work. Our work is just about the work of Science and Reconstruction Lab, uh, island of Crimea. Well, we restore old finds, archaeological finds, and basically we follow all the way from the initial digs all the way to the actual restoration. Let me show you how it's happening. Here on the slide, you can see the ready-made reconstruction, and I will tell you what the reconstruction is because not everyone seems to understand. So basically a little bit about our lab. It's been around for quite some time. We are conserve and restore archaeological finds, individual facilities and whole sets. Some of the well-known reconstructions, these pieces, golden warriors, chiefs, Sarmat warrior, well, various, the whole number of horses, the way they were buried in the memorial grave called Kurgan. And basically, this is Tonkaragaisky Rayon of East Kazakhstan, the easternmost point of Kazakhstan. All of these reconstruction, we call them reconstruction, since this is recreated pieces based on the results of very thorough analysis and studies. And now just a bit more detail what reconstruction is. You can see it in yellow. This is a scientifically based restoration of lost or ruined cultural natural facility or its parts. So it's important to understand it here because these are not simply fantasies. No, there is no way to use your imagination or creativity. Why do we do this reconstruction? Because often archaeological finds they stay underground for quite some time, thousands of years, hundreds of years. Any information, well, basically these pieces become destroyed. So our work is about restoring, recover these things, defragment these pieces, recollect them, restore and recreate the facility in the new materials. This is what is called reconstruction. We're not trying to restore the old stuff, but trying to recreate the original things using modern materials. What's important for this restoration? Restoration helps us to understand how these pieces were used initially, how they looked like. Looking at the archaeological finds, it's hard to imagine. So number one, reliability is first in the expression. Otherwise, no one will like it. So what do we need as we create reconstruction? We need the following data, some set of information, to what kinds, basically the age, physical characteristics, the suit, the clothing pieces, what kind of fabric, colors, materials, haircuts, heads, surrounding environment. So basically, we need to check on all of these only by using interdisciplinary approach. I'd like to say that what's important to go deep into the subject.
Microscopic analysis, the search for analysis, the X-ray study, and everything else. For example, we don't have any questions here because this is something that is preserved during thousands of years, absolutely amazing artifacts, coins that are probably also referring to the Altai princess that was preserved thanks to Lydia and other people who were preserving it. But unfortunately, there are not so many such findings because the majority of artifacts are already dilapidated and rotting. And why are they disappearing? Because there is a lot of burglary. For example, there were a lot of people who were digging into the old tombs, and they were stealing away the old ancient bracelets. And sometimes it is also due to the aggressive environment, acid containing water, underground waters, and of course the organic materials. And what kind of artifacts can we exhibit? Of course, we can exhibit them, but they will never look like the new ones. For example, we've been dealing with some artifacts that have been conserved and restored. Maybe you cannot understand it from the first glance, but these are two cushions which have very nice applications, and it was restored. There is another example. Here are some wooden decorations, woodcut decorations that were found in Kazakhstan, but only after restoration they do not look like new ones. And there is another example, that gold actually is not deteriorating in the course of time. And for example, here is the woman preserved. But no one has a good understanding of how that woman looked like and how she was wearing all the her golden decorations. What can we do? I mean, first of all, we can do the reconstruction and restoration. For example, here you see the reconstruction in materials, and you see that the difference is really amazing. For example, here you see some horse decorations, and here you see the restored artifacts, and you can see how this horse looks like and how the majority of the decoration elements are interacting with each other. And there is another example of silk fabric coming from the Middle Age, and we made the graphic reconstruction of this fabric and its decoration pattern. And of course, we tested everything, checked, verified, and after that, we restored this fabric. So now you see the reconstruction of how the fabric could look in the saddle of the horse. And here is the result. You see the hall in the National Museum in Nur Sultan, and you see that the originals are located to the left. Of course, they're very small. They are restored very well, but not to full understanding. And this is the reason for which in the center, we decided to place the reconstruction of the horse decorations so that you will be able to see it in its holistic view. And also there is another example from East Kazakhstan, the so-called Urzharskaya Zhirica, and it was restored in 2018. You see here the map, which is indicating Urzhar, and those were the excavation works that were carried out during the extension of the road. And when they have noticed that there were some ancient tombs, then we decided to carry out the excavation works, to continue the excavation works. And in Kazakhstan, there are a lot of such examples. Here you see the covers of the tomb, and you see that the tomb consists of several rectangular platforms, and all the they were all the space between the stone platforms were actually very well sealed, and there was no air inside. And this is the reason for which usually during the excavation works, we are removing a lot of organic residues. But here you see that the body, the skeleton is very well preserved. And here you see some elements of the hat decoration, which looks somehow like that of the Golden Man. And it was really very unique and surprising. And when the experts arrived on site, they decided that it needs to be preserved. And usually they do it this way. The archaeologists usually put together into the same bag all the bone residual materials, and then the metallic residuals are collected in a different box. But here it was not possible to do so, because it was the only and unique case when the organic residues were preserved separately from the rest. But how do we transport everything to the city? And I would like to explain very briefly that they actually cut it out with the earth. They packed it very meticulously, and after numerous studies, we found small pieces of fabric that were on the surface. Everything else was at a different depths, a little bit deeper. And then we carried out technological study, spectral analysis, the analysis of the content of various other components that could show that some parts of this fabric could be made of wool, because you know that wool has is usually produced of the animal hair, and there were also some parts of the red silk that we managed to find out with the help of the analysis, and we found out that it was silk. and that it was red, and that it was painted with a specific dye, very widely spread in the Central Asian region. We also made an X-ray study as well that is usually used, for example, when a person breaks bones, and we do it for the purpose of finding some hidden elements that are not visible. And here you see, for example, the scalp, and here you see a kind of metallic object, and we started excavation further. We saw here a miniature of saigak. You know that saigak is a very rare animal. And of course, we carried out the analysis of pollen and spores, because you know that the skeleton of the woman was actually covered with maybe a dozen of various herbs. And the majority of these herbs, or all of these herbs, are healing. And I'm going to show you the study of one of the tests, or the study of one of the samples. Visually, we found out that it was, we decided that it was textile, that it was fabric, but as a matter of fact, it was the roots of the fern. The fern that is available and that is growing along the rivers in our region, but we have decided to understand, we tried to understand why it was fern, and it is actually related with something secret, mysterious. It is also associated with birds, because it's a relic plant which actually is preserved from prehistoric times, and it is usually, you know that there were a lot of stories about Ivan Kupala, and what is surprising is that the basis of the fern, even in you know, it is the old Russian Slavic word, which means actually fly. Therefore, during the reconstruction, we decided to put the bouquet of this fern into the left hand of the woman. And here you see a different study. For example, here you see the place of the scalp, and here you see some lines of the hat. And in the black color, we see some traces of organic materials. Those might be a wool, skin, pressed wool. So everything else that a hat consists of, and those genetic remnants are of darker color. And therefore, we can anticipate that the parts of the golden foil, it was collected, cleaned, and we found out that it was looking like a mythological bird. And as our friends ornithologists are stating, that it looks like a pheasant. So what do you think? What kind of bird does it remind you? Well, from my point of view, it looks like a phoenix. So it's a mythological bird which is reviving from ashes. And it's like spring is changing the winter, and this idea of revival was present in our history for quite a long period of time. And here you see the result of the restoration, and you see how complicated the structure of the hat decoration is. And you see that she's got the scarf, red silk scarf, and there is, you see the decoration on the head with the where you will find a bird, and the symbol of the fern leaves that were made of wood, and then they were decorated with golden foil. So they resemble and they look very much like fern leaves. Therefore, this is what we used to have before the exhumation. And of course, this particular picture does not give us an impression of how that woman looked like. And after the reconstruction, we can draw the attention of our participants that everything really looks like reality, and that it was probably not an ordinary woman. And I would like to draw your attention to the hairs of this woman. You see that there are cues, but the cues are not made of hair, because the representatives of elite, they were usually, they didn't have any hair, they were bald, but they were using the cues that were made either of woman's hair or horse hair. And here is the result of our work. Therefore, you see this restoration of a woman, and you see the reconstruction with the head decoration with fern leaves, and you see here is the stone cup, which is located next to her head. This means that it was of particular importance. It was a kind of cap. It was a cup in which you could easily grind various seeds, and the success of this reconstruction was really very important. In 2019, we made the project of the exposition, and this particular artifact was taking the central part and the central role in it, and it was a kind of gravity center of that exposition. So here you see the project, and to the right you see the implementation, and behind at the background you see the night sky, and you know, many healers are collecting the healing herbs usually at night, because the strength of the herbs will be guaranteed by doing so. And on this picture, what you can see, you see the reconstructed woman, and you see that it is installed on the podium with different herbs and plants, because probably the herbs was one of the main, let's say, tools that the woman was using. And of course, here you see various artifacts. To the right of this woman, you see what was really made very well. We restored and nicely packed those artifacts, and people could say how the woman was lying in the tomb, and they can compare her with the reconstruction. So here you see very well how she's conserved and restored. So we decided to keep everything intact. We didn't take anything, so everything looks exactly the way we at the time when we found her, and people could see how she looked like. And I can tell you that the museum reconstruction is really very important, because it helps to carry out not only the educational function, but it is also drawing a lot of attention to the original, and it is popularizing history of our country. And for the representatives of creative industries, I think it is really very important to deep dive, because when you take a look in the internet, various decorations, you have also to study semantics and understand where those decorations were used, because in many different cultures, different types of pictures or decorations were serving for different purposes. And indeed, every image is pretty symbolic. And therefore, this is exactly what we are looking at and what we are observing. And it's really great that all those symbols are preserved. Indeed, this topic is really very deep, very vast. And what is important here is not to try to misinterpret anything or not to distort their meaning, because it's really very important to demonstrate everything that has been preserved since 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. And, in our case, we still believe in Phoenix, and in our case, it is Samruk. And I would like to show you one more time this slide with the results of our reconstruction. I cannot find it right away now. And here you see all these artifacts which have a very deep basis. And we conducted very thorough scientific research. Thank you very much to everybody who has been listening to my presentation. Please sign to my Instagram, and you can participate in all our processes. Of course, we are trying to show something to the viewers, because we believe that this topic is of paramount importance. Elena, thank you very much. I believe that Mimi has already taken her brushes, and I assume that she's got some ideas, because she looks very mysteriously. Thank you very much. It was amazingly interesting presentation, and it is amazingly interesting to follow our chat, because we have only 5 minutes to entertain questions that the guys are asking in the chat. Therefore, I would like to run through the questions. The first question is from Kenishbek, who is very much interested in the principles and approaches to funding.
Well, funding of these restoration activities, including the scientific part, are you being supported by the government, or maybe these are just private investments? Or do you do like open bids, tender procedure? Well, this is being financed by the Ministry of Culture and Sports. We would apply to them, or very often they would propose some activity like that, or we would propose some activity because we can see some interesting stuff. We also being contacted by archaeologists. We work in tandem. Basically, they find stuff and we recover it or restore it. We have enough experience to do it because this carries some degree of responsibility, so are being financed by the government. Well, there are some private contracts, but this is very rarely. The larger work on archaeological digs, privately owned things are very rare. Understood. This is the book I was talking about. This is Orjar Priestess. So basically, lots of pictures, lots of things. So basically, some illustrations in this book. You can basically, can you buy this book online or in bookstores? Well, it's not in any of the bookstores. Please write to us and we can pass it to, we'll give you a copy. Would like to pass these books. Maybe we'll sell them via Flipkz or some other e-commerce platform. We have another question from our other active ambassador from Turkmenistan. Shukur is asking, Elena, thank you very much. Very interesting listening to your experience and seeing it. I'd like to ask this question. I wonder how archaeologists are always able to find these artifacts. Other archaeological metal detectors that enable you to find specific locations where you do this archaeological digs. What if I have this hidden treasure under my house. Those people who walk around with the metal detectors, those are black diggers. This is punishable by law. This is illegal. Normally, the way archaeologists find it, they have their own specific features. They know specific signs of specifically burial features, grave elements. Some morphologists are aware of those features. So for us, it can look like a pile of stones, but archaeologists can see some sort of prehistorical fence or some other thing. Because it's easier to find some small hills, because these small hills, they're called kurgans, and those are typically the big graves. Inside, they would create this particular space. People not just lived in portable homes, but they also had to build wooden houses. And we find these wooden houses inside these kurgans, the small ones, in order to allow a person to fit in. And as the roof caves in under the weight of the mass of rock and stones, so basically the whole grave would collapse. And they've always been digged out back in the ancient times, in the Tsar's times. There were the whole groups of people, whole gangs, who would go get some gold and sell it in the black market. The first person who was to pay attention, well, basically these guys studied in Europe and saw that they create museums out of these old finds. So make it part of the museum collection. So he ordered Siberian governors to stop such practices of illegal excavations. Said, whatever you find here, please bring this to St. Petersburg. This is how they created the Siberian collection of the famous Siberian gold. Right now, this is an Hermitage. This is the central element of their collection. Beautiful jewelry. Of course, it's hard to say what is from what particular grave, but this is from Siberia or maybe even from Kazakhstan. Well, there are also people now who are trying to make some money on this historical digs, but I've seen the news that some people, some local, they scare those black diggers off. They're trying to shoo them off in order not to allow them to make any money. These are our ancestors, so you cannot dig here. They only allow properly authorized archaeologists to do the official digs. Only licensed people are allowed to do those historical digs, because the things people find and we can restore and pass to the museums, we can better learn what was the culture at the time. So these are all little pieces of the puzzle. Only getting them together, you can see the overall picture of the situation. Based on a single fragment, this is impossible to understand it. So it's important which pieces needs to be passed to the museums for studies, to enable other scientists to take a look too and express their own theories about the origins of this. I opened the chat. Yeah, there are lots of questions I'm trying to keep up before we move to the next topic. So some people are asking about the upcoming concert lecture that is supposed to be in Almaty. What kind of project with Assam and Tengri, very briefly. Well, I will tell you about a year ago, we started doing this project. Basically, this is combining lectures, Urjar priestess, well, warrior woman, and the concert from the Tengri group. Tengri group, this is Asem Kupaeva, Kazakh rock singer. She's doing some ethnic singing, Ironaga, Zauria, they are all cool musicians. So if you don't mind, I will show you this picture. Just a minute. Well, these are amazing musicians who can convey emotions using sounds of music, even the sounds of animals. They cannot just play this music, they also tell about how these emerged. And basically, first they perform, play one thing, then I tell about the Urjar priestess, the interactive lecture with Q&A, then I finish, and then I continue. Right now, I'd like to come up with a new program, the new performance. We are adjusting it. This will not be just the lecture. This will be the lecture with some musical elements. It will be far more emotional, far more attractive. So, Nur Sultan, 2 days. So please come. Tickets are available on Ticketon. I think you will never be sorry. Thank you, Alina. Thank you very much for your hard work. Let me pass you over the messages from everyone who wrote to us. Thank you very much for giving us this history, and we know about all those things that we are capable to visualize the help of your history. Because one thing is reading the book, we hear stuff. The other thing, when you see it and understand the whole process from the very beginning till the very end. So many thanks to you. I hope our youth, they won't be shy and will write to you in Instagram. Maybe they will even come and see you and learn more. As far as I know, this topic is of great interest for them. Thank you for your presentation. And I'd like to move on to the next speaker. When I was preparing these small footnotes about each speaker, I found some deep sympathy to Anita Sabiri, who's a well-known movie director from Tajikistan. At the young age, Anisa got interested in directing movies. Well, you can say this professionally. You started doing this in some time after graduating from the Moscow University of the Ministry of Interior. Anisa got the rank of the police lieutenant and then graduated from the London Movie School with a master's degree and started professionally doing her work. And her first short movie about young person coming of age at the time of the Tajik War was awarded with a number of awards, including the best movie direction at the festival in New York. I also heard how Tajik people are really proud of Anisa. And in fact, well, there are a few things to be proud of, because apart from her professional activity, Anisa has become a co-organizer and director of the online platform Culture Online that familiarizes the rest of the world with the Tajik culture. So today, Anisa joined us to specifically share her experience and knowledge with the young guys from Central Asia. Anisa, over to you. Hello, thank you very much for the invite to this event, and thank you very much for such an introduction. Well, I will try to meet your expectations. I just would like to switch you all, our audience, back to the topic of movies, cinema. We'll touch upon the topic of the online platform that we launched, and we're trying to tell stories about Tajik culture and Tajikistan. And we ask our moderators to play this trailer, the most recent documentary about the cultural traditions of Tajiks. Thank you for this trailer. Well, I just would like to note that this is a trailer of my most recent documentary that is related cultural heritage of the Tajik people. So we've been able to depict many of the traditions which are currently at the brink of extinction. Some of these traditions, like Alina mentioned, the way they recover some of the archaeological digs, things must be restored. We try to convey this message to our audiences, how the traditions look like, the traditions that are still remembered, cultural practice as well as possible. We try to restore them too. Because throughout the time of post-production and traveling to festivals, some of these people, keepers of this heritage, already passed away. So we've been lucky that we've been able to preserve their memory. And despite the fact that this is documentary about historical heritage, I just would like to know that for me, first of all, I'm interested in the modern reality, and let me explain why. For me, cultural practices, this is mostly archaeology of finding my own identity, of finding ways to understand yourselves in the local world, a global space. And for me, it's really hard to imagine myself as a movie director. Well, any product that's been about the contemporary times, any product from Central Asia with that connection to the past. Well, understanding the region, paying attention to the region, its peculiar features. Well, it's interesting to know that in this region, absolutely everything is related to the past. This is possibly happening because of the multitude of cultural layerings that we have in all the countries of Central Asia, specifically. Can draw attention to the changes in architecture. It's got some connection to the past, linguistic peculiarities. Tajikistan, there is some remnants of the old Persian languages, the layering of multitude of conquerors who came to the region and borrowed words from the modern Tajik language. This is our clothing, our behavior, everything forms this modern DNA, modern mentality, mindset of the peoples of Central Asia. It also creates relations at the border. So basically, in this sense, the contemporary situation is very interesting, and this very thin line that connects us with our DNA of the region, specifically my country. So for me, cultural practice is this work with the contemporary nature. I'm trying to reflect on this in my movies, looking for stories. The search continues and it will never stop because, well, for me, again, storytelling, finding answers to my questions, understanding who I am. Well, it seems to me that this particular approach is also somewhat missed out of the narrative that comes from Central Asia. And I'm talking about the experience of Tajikistan, because in some countries of Central Asia, well, this is more or less better, in others a bit worse. Well, this narrative situation, the stories that come out of this region and basically get to the international audiences. It seems to me that this dictates the lack of work with the modern DNA. This dictates the narrative that they're trying to dive in the past without understanding this past. Because for me, the past and the modern reality and multi-layered nature of Central Asia, this is something like the ruins of the city that's been rebuilt multiple times. And those multiple layers on the modern city, they all gradually disappear. So in this sense, what's relevant, the standpoint of a metaphor, Alina's presentation, because restoring archaeological stuff is really hard. It's hard to restore our mindsets, but mentality is directly related to historical, cultural, and behavioral past. So it seems to me that the content that comes out of this region, well, we do not have any lack of working with the past in the region. We have the lack of working with the DNA mentality. DNA is speaking about the drama conflicts that come out of this region. Very often they are trying to connect to the past without actually looking into the present. Often they separate it from the present. So I closely came across this when I was working on this movie, the trailer of which you've seen, because it was the first project of the kind that is directly related to the past history and huge layerings of historical past that happened through the traditions.
Mongols and Turkic conquest, the Soviet past and the current level. And if we try to transfer everything to the space of the screen, it was really very difficult because it is a huge luggage that we had to redo, remodel, and a very vast experience that we had to rethink. And this is the reason for which the experience of my live abroad actually gave me an opportunity to think through all these aspects, because when I lived in Tajikistan, I really wanted to show this link with the past directly. But actually, it doesn't work at all times because there is our own insight on ourselves. And it is also related with mentality of the region, because very often we try to compete with each other historically wise, and it is probably predetermined by some historic causes. However, such neutral standpoint and outlook of the modern times that is not present, and this is the reason for which the work of our cultural center is very closely related to such approach, because everything that we have today is actually our heritage, and it is very important to understand it. And we wanted to demonstrate and to show Tajikistan and the Tajik culture and everything else that is associated with Tajik culture, which is very closely interrelated with the culture of China, India, and many other regions. And it left its traces somewhere, and it also took a lot of different things from other cultures. And this is the reason for which we wanted to demonstrate this point of view. We simply wanted to document everything. That's why we decided to establish this online platform, online magazine about Tajik culture in the English language. And I'm going to demonstrate it to you a little bit later, which was involved into the storytelling about the region. And that's it. We've got we are focusing on the Tajik culture because we believe that there is a shortage of a narrative that we are interested in with regard to the Tajik culture. And of course, we wanted to show it the way it happens. It goes without saying that without the link with analytical analysis of socio-political events, it is impossible to do so. However, as the people who are practicing culture, we are trying to document everything. And as the editors of this magazine, we are trying to demonstrate how versatile the Tajik culture is. And in particular, we've been exercising the same approach of virtual Sarasm restoration. It is the artifact which is protected by UNESCO. It is a proto-city which is 5.5 thousand years old. And of course, a lot of archaeologists and historians are involved into this project. And we just wanted to show the documents that are available on this particular artifact. We restored 3 layers of the fourth part of this ancient city. And we tried to demonstrate how the old town was evolving throughout centuries, how one layers were replaced by the other layers, and how this particular segment was rebuilt. And again, it's a kind of reflection of the participant of this virtual tour when a person or a viewer can see this section of the Sarasm monument. People probably can understand better what they feel when they are visiting it. And from our point of view, and according to our philosophy of our center, the approach is that ability to reflect is probably universal, and it is uniting all of us, and it is interesting not only for the local viewers but also for the international viewers, because again there is a lack of knowledge about the history of our region, to understand us better and to make sure that the international practitioners, historians, and politicians will understand us better and will take adequate decisions. And this particular story, from our point of view, is a universal link which is connecting all of us, all people on the planet, because when people can see the cultural object or a piece of art the way it is, people start reflecting about their own attitude, their own reaction to these artifacts. And what I wanted to note also is that this particular approach as of today is really in deficit, because our work with the historic and cultural heritage, we spoil actually. We spoil the work with this heritage, because very often the approach to cultural or historical practitioners today, for some reasons, the rethinking of the history of our region is probably boiling down to a kind of mimicking the history. And this is what we are trying to avoid when we work with historic heritage. And actually, I wanted to show you this magazine that we produced. I don't know why, but I cannot open it. Do you see my screen? You can demonstrate your screen if you push the green button in Zoom. And then you will have to choose the screen and to confirm this picture. I don't know why, but I cannot share my screen with you. But in principle, you can visit this magazine. It's called tajikculture.org. And I will send you the link in the chat. This is the magazine that we are planning to populate to a maximum extent with various visual storytelling or multimedia storytelling, because we believe that this particular approach will give us a maximum understanding of the culture and the narrative. Because of course, cinema is a very powerful tool historically. However, in this particular case, we decided to integrate it with the texts, with multimedia storytelling for every story, and we wanted to animate some parts of this history. Now we started this work only 1 year ago, and the magazine is definitely being developed right now. We are still working on it, and the next project that we are planning to launch as the extension of this magazine is cultural mapping of Tajikistan, because from our point of view, we lack this information, and cultural mapping will be a kind of universal map of the country, which in the format of filters will be filtering for the users the possibility of to receive the components that are of particular interest. For example, particular regions or particular stories coming from this region, because we know that every country of Central Asia has its own broad map of potential possibilities or touristic opportunities. However, we are not using this potential. And our research has shown, has demonstrated that, again, not all of us, unfortunately, deal with the heritage available today. And this is particularly true about the musical tourism that can be developed here. It's linguistic heritage, especially in Tajikistan. It's this particular area is of particular significance for tourism. It's also heritage represented by various historic monuments. And this map is going to be, let's say, an aggregated overview of the touristic potential of Tajikistan, and every user will be able to pick up the route based on his or her preferences. This map will be designed during a year, and God bless, by the end of next year, we will be able to launch it. We are really looking forward to the launch of this project, which will take place pretty soon. And this is how we would like to continue developing our magazine, making sure that it will be self-evolving, so that the editors will only correct additional applications to introduce amendments, changes, or additions into this magazine. And of course, what is very important for us is to establish the same visual language, because we have already paid attention to the management and working on the promotion of our ideas. Today, for every user, it is very important that the visual language will also coincide with the perception and understanding of the user. And this is the reason for which we would like to preserve this topic of visual language, which we believe is pretty modern, because we are rethinking the symbols of the national policy available today in Tajikistan, and we tried to do something universal that will be equally interesting for every individual, for every person who would like to comfortably read the material in our magazine or look at any touristic route or destination that is of interest for this user. You can take a look at this magazine. It is evolving. There are a lot of various sections there, but taking into consideration that we have only 6 people in our team, and this team was growing during 1 year, and it keeps growing as well. Therefore, I believe that this result is fairly good at this point of time, because we managed to attract very young specialists who are freelancers, and there are also our staff members. We are also supported by the national experts, because creative industry very often is not interesting for young specialists, because the young specialists don't want to work in the offices. And therefore, this online space actually gave us an opportunity to attract the most creative guys who are working from a cafe or from their homes, and they're dealing with the national culture. And probably it will attract some other specialists like them, because we know that ancient or historic facts, as a rule, attract mature people who have enough time to read books. And but for the youngsters, the visual language is of more interest, and this is the reason for which we will continue this area of activity, and we will be really very glad if you become our readers. I think it goes without saying that not only them, but we will also join you, because it is really very interesting, and it's so new. And there is a question from Lenin, and she's wondering how the citizens of Tajikistan are reacting to your creative activity. It's hard to say for me, because probably I'm not talking about it very frequently, because it is so awkward for me to discuss my creative activity or to ask people about their reaction. But I believe that their reaction might be different. Maybe people will not tell me anything negative in my face, but many participants are helping you, because many of them are writing. Many people like Anisa, and they're very proud of her, and their attitude is pretty positive. So our representatives of Tajikistan have answered these questions. Anisa, thank you very much, because indeed you shared a very unique experience with us, and I would like to wish you prosperity, success, and I think that what you are doing and the way you are attracting and involving the youth will be a huge and very invaluable contribution to the culture of Tajikistan. And God bless you to continue positively and successfully your efforts. Thank you very much indeed. And now we would like to give the floor to the next speaker. Today, as a matter of fact, I've got a minute, and I managed to collect some facts about our speakers. And when I've seen what Cholpontintsieva is doing, is something very unique, and how she is transferring the art into online format. And I am very far away from painting, but for 40 minutes I was scrutinizing digitized pictures that are produced under the supervision of Cholpontintsieva, who is the deputy director of the Kyrgyz National Arts Museum named after Agaparaitiv, and she's also the founder of the online school OU, and she is supervising many international projects, and at the same time she's an expert on creative industries. And she is one of the first representatives in Kyrgyzstan who has decided to adopt a very innovative approach to the museums. Therefore, her approach is very popular not only among mature people but also among youth, and therefore cultural awareness is being raised. For example, during pandemic, of COVID-19, Cholpon launched an online project thanks to which people managed to dive deep into the art and even try the role of artist. Cholpon, please tell me how did you manage to transform art into the mainstream in Kyrgyzstan? Thank you very much. Of course, it was well, you told so many things, so many nice things about me. But anyway, thank you very much for the invitation. I really like the format of our interaction because everybody is telling about their own cases, and my colleagues, museums. Now we're talking about the reconstruction and restoration, and at the same time, we are talking about the movies, the films. Everything is very close to my heart because we talk in the language of art. And you told about the museums, and I think that the main strategy today in the Kyrgyzstan Arts Museum is that we are promoting our ideas to the youth, because our target audience and 70% of our activities in social media, our communication strategy is aimed at the youth. And of course, we speak the young format, the format which is very understandable for the youth. We are animating our works. We are also doing the teasers in the Telegram channel for every season, spring, summer, winter. Now we have 18,000 of exhibits. You hear me very well? Is everything fine? Okay, and we are trying to do various patterns that can be downloaded to notebooks or smartphones. I would say that we are teasing our public, our audience, but at the same time, we understand very well our goals and purposes.
So we play with our audiences in order to be interactive, trying to be too nice to them, but from our side, we're trying to do interesting exhibition projects. So today, I just would like to tell you, well, I participate as a curator of those exhibitions. This is where my soul finds its freedom. This is the interesting process when exhibitions in 10 to 12 days attract up to 4,000 visitors. So I would like to research more and more and give people more. What's popular now is a multimedia format. The offline exhibitions, they are, well, after this online lockdown, people started visiting museums, and these cross formats are quite interesting. If you don't mind, I'll try to show you this PowerPoints. Can you see it? Yes. Okay, this is one of the closest projects. It's called Keshik VR, Sarkuk in Kazakh. This is, remember, in our tradition, nomadic people's culture, Turkic people's culture, well, good events, good celebrations. Their tradition was to bring a little bit of food to share this good energy, positive energy with the close ones. So we do have this tradition. On the one hand, this is a good tradition that no food gets thrown away, gets wasted. So basically, I was trying to name this exhibition. It took me a while because Keshik is a highly traditional name. Could it be offending? to anyone. So we hit the target. So we had at least 4,000 visitors in 12 days, plus 8,000 entries to 8,000 visits at our website. So I'd like to take it to Almaty if possible. This is really going to be really cool. The exhibition was of the multimedia nature, VR format. The online part, my guys created this website. Speaking about the brand, well, we're all for sustainable design. Of course, to a large extent, we said the fashion, design, art, and highly traditional things like what we have in our heritage, in our blood. Attitude to life, attitude, crack, the technique. We're talking about the large consequences. We're talking about the environmental implications. These are sculptures. We brought these high-tech fabrics from the body of the temperature of the human body. Color changes under the phone's light. You can see the poisonous color of the underground fluids, tons of plastic. So in general, it might seem like we're in Kyrgyzstan or Kazakhstan, but we're all sponsors of the situation because we all consume plastic. So here we try to dig deep into our philosophy, what's in our heritage. We try to quote some examples that in the past, in the nomadic past, it was just enough to have a couple of camels to move elsewhere. It was also consciously reasonable. The fashion industry is producing great damage to nature. While we created it, we got really emotional. We had some consultants of this project. I'm the art person. We have designers. We cannot speak about the environmental protection without science backing it. This is another one. It was at the beginning of the Ekutu Bazui, Altana Ismoilov. This is again a multimedia artist. She studied at St. Martin's, had some internship with McQueen. So she knows the fashion context. So it goes in various quotes, proverbs, sayings, lots of interesting notions. This is the very interesting format. I'm not really sure whether in Kazakh language there's how many people come to your house, the same amount of happiness will arrive to you too. So this is the installation of this mantra, mantra versus loneliness, multitude of rubber shoes. So if lots of people come to you, more happiness will be headed your way. So it was a highly popular Instagram, TikTok point with this exhibition and the other exhibition, and talking about the social networks. People spread the stuff around, convey all of the information. No project had any advertising. We didn't do any targeting. People were the messengers. And of course, lots of conceptual elements. The exhibition was really huge, large scale. Right now, we're also waiting for it to move to the other location. It traveled around Kyrgyzstan, started at our museum, because of being popular, moved to the Issyk, the Museum of Nomadic Arts, and then traveled throughout various regions. It had a different context. People were happy that in a modern language, modern artists talk about the highly traditional stuff like felt, handicrafts, some components. Here you can also see this installation. This is the Museum of Nomadic Civilization. So this is the image of a woman. and there is a mirror in the place of her face. So I made this very brief presentation. Let me also play some animation. So in general, speaking about these two exhibitions, well, this is 2021. They've been so popular, mostly amongst the youth. They told us they didn't know what those things were, didn't know about those proverbs. They didn't know that had that was so important, especially through art. The art has this privilege. We speak very briefly and very to the point. Well, so basically, this is the way how these things were made, 50 to 60 exhibitions per year, very active, different formats. And recently we had Altina Dam coming to us, the hugely popular as part of the Days of Kazakhstan. Well, the museum movement, the art museum, well, this is all must, you need to feel the time, the format, and what Anissa said, that mapping, modern approaches. So in my opinion, this is basically one of the same dish, but served on a modern plate with the modern elements attached to it and the most profound heritage. Speaking about the ethnical design, all of these areas, the original, authentic stuff, combination with science, not just reading the superficial context, that the more profound interpretation. Well, because this is really vital, all of our people need this. Tourists, they need all of these profound concepts, profound codes, taking this to our modern world. And in this sense, it makes living easier. This is also based on the feedback of our visitors too. We get this right that this is easily accessible. Just wanted to ask you whether we can see it all at your museum's website. You know, the website of our museum, there is a very good digitalized collection, 2,000 pieces, 2,000 paintings, sculptures. This project, that's a different website address. You can take a look at home using the VR glasses. Welt and I will soon be launching this new multimedia website. And this is still waiting for its launch. This is our animation from our collection. We often do this animation with the sound, please.
Ну и, в общем, как только мы эту анимацию запустили, конечно же, к нам сразу
So as
посыпались
soon as we launched this animation, we got various companies copying to us. We organize various collaborations, companies from the other countries working with our collection. This is a great way. As soon as these elements become alive, we give a hint of what we can do with our museum collection. Well, it's very popular. We are working with Moscow, with the other countries. Our paintings in the form of patterns, mergers. Well, this is becoming highly popular. So suits very well in our modern reality. How much time do I have? Let us ask whether we have any questions. Well, there was a particular reason why I made this introduction for you. Even someone from the Almaty Museum is proposing some cooperation. Well, I'm not checking the chat, so well, as soon as you finish your presentation, you will have some time to contact those people, because pandemics forced everyone to become slightly more creative and think in a different way. So it is also felt as your approach, you know, briefly reflects on what people were missing in the times of lockdown. So basically, those simple notes from the past when it was all cool, when our grandmothers were alive, grandfathers were alive, and they told us about visiting each other, about traditions or hosting guests. Well, this is all really missing out, and what you're doing is basically very powerful bridge between several generations. So it's nice to hear that your exhibitions are becoming TikTok grounds, because the youth, well, we opened our own TikTok and we have huge ratings. So yes, you're trying to target youth from all different angles. Well, this is our uh, responsibility. Well, basically fighting for people who possibly never saw our exhibits. And we have some really good channel on Telegram. Please subscribe. You can see all of the patterns. Everything is free of charge. If you have any time and chat, can you put your links in the chat box, because I only mentioned your Instagram, Telegram, TikTok. So for your project, I think it's going to be very useful, at least for those who are present here. And then, well, basically, through the word of mouth, it will be all spread around. Maybe you can organize an exhibition here in Kazakhstan. I would like to wish you good luck, and you have a big creative team, people who create this. I have my own team in my museum, and of course I have my own creative team. We created our website, do the animation, do various designs. Well, this is a huge team, installations. In a museum, I have the other team. And if anything's missing in the museum, my team typically would give me some help, some helping hand. You know, the way I work with the youth, I already can precede their questions. Are there any possibility for the young people to do some projects, internships, where they could take over the spirit of what you do? Well, yes. Of course, you can join our circle. We have now guys, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Russia's Altai. Well, this is like a little international community, and we work beautifully. So please write to us saying this is the museum volunteering is available, also important. We are very open in this regard. Thank you, Cholpan. Guys, I hope you've all heard it. And just the last question before we let her go. Up to this asked, is the government helping you? Kyrgyz National Museum, of course, this is a government-owned, government-sponsored entity. So basically, there is some money, budgets allocated for its existence, staff wages, utilities, and so on. But the other things, of course, you need to look for some collaboration, cooperation. Anything extra budget, you'll have to take care of it on your own. Kineshbeck is asking whether you're developing exhibition certificates. Yes, of course, this must be done. It's a must. But yes, we do prepare all of the necessary elements for the exhibitions. And one more question, I think Kamshat wouldn't mind this. She's asking whether she can get your contacts. Please get in touch via chat. I gave her a phone number. It's also on Telegram and WhatsApp. So please write to me. There is nothing to hide, so I realized that my phone number, well, basically, you can easily find this on the internet. So my Instagram, Chalpon it's real easy. Chalpon, thank you very much. It's been amazingly interesting dream about visiting one of your exhibitions and staying right next to those rubber shoes. This really fell into my mind. Good luck. I'm now passing the floor to our next speaker, who happened to be outside of Central Asia, but very pleased that today Azerbaijan is with us. Shirin Melnikova managed to join us today. Also did some search about today's speaker. Shirin Melnikova is the director of Azerbaijan National Museum of Carpets in Baku, the chairman of Azerbaijan National Committee ICOM. She was one of the founding fathers of the multitude of innovative museum projects, curated various inclusive programs in the country, organized online projects, and developed new strategy to maintain the museum's development in the COVID-19. Shirin Melnikova was an art critic, curator of multiple exhibitions, festivals, regularly delivers lectures in the textile museums globally, international symposium and conferences. Dr. Melnikova is an author of more than 20 books on the multitude of science publication. Today, Shirin Melnikova is with us. Today, let me pass the floor over to her.
Good afternoon. I'm really very glad to welcome you here and to see all of you. And thank you very much for the invitation. I hope you hear me well, right? Yes, yes, we hear you very well. Thank you very much. It's not the first time when I'm cooperating with UNESCO Cluster Bureau, Almaty. And I would like to thank you for your activities and for wonderful webinars that you've been conducting for quite a period of time. And ourselves, we are informing all our Azerbaijani colleagues through ICOM network because we believe that it is a great contribution into the development of museum activities, including in Azerbaijan. And today's topic is very interesting. I would like to tell you about the experience of our national Azeri Museum and its participation in various collaboration projects that we started implementing jointly with creative people who are representing different conceptual arts and even fashion industry. And if I may, I would like to share my screen with you. First and foremost, I would like to mention that it's not a secret that traditional arts are rooted in the ancient history, but they're usually fed by the new ideas, and they are feeding our nowadays culture, and they serve as the source of inspiration. And actually, this is also true about the Azeri carpets and carpet making industry, which is developing in various along different lines. First of all, along the lines of preservation of the existing traditions, but at the same time, we have amazingly interesting works of the young carpet makers who are bringing something new Our museum is one of the unique museums in the world, because it was the first and unique museum of this type in the world, and now it is keeping the biggest collection of Azerbaijani carpets, which contain the samples dating back to the 17th century, and um, including the pieces of art related to our today's history. And therefore, we are keeping some other samples of handicraft, which are also representing the spiritual culture of our peoples in many different ways. Therefore, the first museum that is usually visited by the tourists who arrive in our country is the National Carpet Museum. So here you see our exposition starting 2014. We are located in a new building, which looks like an unwinding carpet. And here you will find all collections, including a very nice jewelry collection, which is replenished with invaluable samples, so artifacts. And I would like to state you that probably it is the only type of museum that is open for the visitors several days a week. And of course, there is the third floor. We have three exhibition halls, floors, where we are exhibiting the pieces of art of the artists of the 20th and 21st century. And during the last several years, we brought into the traditional expositions of our museum the new breeze of the modern times. Here you see various installations and sculptures of our modern artists, and also the works of Faik Ahmedov, who is now gaining popularity. And here you see also the carpet interior that was made for our Venetian National Azeri Pavilion in 2013, and now it is exhibited in our museum. And in 2016, we started collaboration with one of very famous artists, Mr. Chingiz Babayev, who is a very creative person, very versatile, and he is actually involved into the different types of modern art and sculpture. And he's very much interested in installations with the use of carpets. He started his first experience back in 1990. He had very nice fruit compositions with carpets, and all his works were really implemented in various techniques. But finally, he got back to the traditional carpet techniques. And what is very important for the museums and his creative activity is that by preserving the culture of art, by preserving the traditional composition and the form and the shape and the architectonics of the carpet, he's creating new patterns. When we are talking about the carpets, we usually state that the carpets usually reflect their own epoch. And therefore, we can read from the carpet about a certain period of time. We can learn about the beliefs of various ethnic groups who created those carpets. Of course, there were some palace carpets that were representing palace style of certain epochs, and there were some carpets of the nomadic tribes, and carpets that were created, that were produced in big cities. And all of them are different, but nevertheless, they speak the language of their epoch, of their time, including the Soviet time carpets that were manufactured in our country. Those are big sized carpets in the social realism style. And today, the carpets are very much at the focus of interest of our modern artists. For example, Chingiz is not the carpet artist. He never studied this topic very deep, but probably he's got a kind of genetic memory. Um, and he remembers this carpet structure, and he decided to use the carpet technology and carpet language to reflect his creative search. He's the social artist. He usually tries to ask different questions, and he's addressing these questions to the public at large. Sometimes he is asking rhetoric questions, but nevertheless, they are very much linked to the problems of today. And nevertheless, he decided to design new carpet patterns and to pass some messages. And it was our first collaboration when in 2017 we made a carpet which is called Resistance. And here you see the pattern that was created by Chingiz, and it looks like the crowl, and you see one crowl in the center, which is going in different direction. Therefore, it is going opposite the society. And probably this is a kind of perception of every artist, because Chingiz is also one of them who believes that he's a little bit different from everybody else. And it was one of the carpets. And in 2017, we had a fifth symposium on carpets, and this particular carpet raised a lot of interest. And today it's a pretty symbolic exhibit among all the modern time contemporary carpets. And of course, Chingiz continued working on new patterns and new compositions. And during some period of time, we've been thinking about an exhibition in which we could demonstrate this succession and dialogue of various epochs. Because the carpets that we have in our exhibitions are we know nothing about their authors, so we are just differentiating them according to their composition or their geographic belonging. And today we can talk about the different program which will be based on various authors. And surprisingly, we can see some patterns of the Seljuk culture dating back to the 12th or 13th century, which means that probably this art is present somewhere in the genetic memory of the peoples of Azerbaijan. And we decided to conduct an exhibition which is called The Art of Carpet, Evolution of Meanings. And it consists of two thematic blocks. And the first presentation of this exhibition took place in the halls of the Kazan Kremlin. It consists of two thematic topics. In the first exhibition hall, we collected the carpets from the national collection, and it's Karabakh and Jigazakh and other main regions of carpet making, as I said, at the end of the 19th, beginning of the 20th century. And we try to collect all those carpets in such a way that they will start a dialogue with the works of Chingiz. And indeed, this dialogue can actually be heard when you hear the rhythm and surprising combination of patterns and colors in these carpets. And I wanted to show you in a more vivid way this dialogue. And to the right, you see the traditional Karabakh Zili carpet, which is reflecting one of the most ancient symbols of Afshar tribe. And next to it, there is a carpet that was produced by Chingiz, which has a symbolized devil dance. And in the center, you see the door, which will enable people to find an exit or an entrance to other worlds. And you are the only one to take the decision whether you are going to remain here or to pass to a different spiritual condition. And it is also a very interesting carpet. You see the Kazakh carpet, which is also linked with the carpet of Chinggis. And in the carpet of Chinggis, which is on the top right, you see that the dark forces are eating up the objects of today. And I would like that it is really very close in its spirit to Seljuk carpets of the 14th century. Another very interesting carpet, the carpet which is called spiders, and it is also very closely related with traditional carpets. Here you will see this link very distinctly because for example, here is the carpet is called sheep and or lambs. Here you see the men who are oppressing the feminine presence. And it's one of the carpets that was produced by Chinggis in 2014 and laid down the foundation to this area of his activity. And during this exhibition, we also decided to exhibit some installations that was first demonstrated in the framework of the Biennale in 2013. And it is a very interesting composition because here you see the carpet from undyed carpet. It's like a pure sheet of paper, which is symbolizing the start of any story, the way we see it. And below on the sand, there are various symbols that are scattered around as a symbol of the ideology that is dominating today will become just a piece of history, and that it will be put in oblivion, and everything that we are going to, let's say, write or paint on our carpet will depend only on us. And I think that this exhibition was conducted in the Carpet Museum, and I'm pretty sure that since it is raising a lot of interest among our visitors, it will continue traveling. In our museum, there was also a very interesting collaboration with a well-known designer, Rufat Ismail. He is very well known because during Paris Fashion Week, he demonstrated his new a collection which is called Sumach. And Sumach is actually one of the type of carpets. Rufat is a very interesting person. He's very creative. And I also paid attention that when working on a certain topic, he is really diving very deep into this topic. And this is exactly what he was using. He was using various patterns, carpet patterns that he's using in his fashion collection. So we've been helping him to choose various carpet collections. He was studying different combinations of colors, and at the same time, he was trying to understand and to perceive the meaning of various symbols. And as a result, he made 21 dresses, and 17 looks were then demonstrated in Paris. These very nice outfits made of silk and wool, and he was indeed was using a lot of possibilities of embroidery. All the embroidery was handmade, and he was also using very old technologies of using precious and semi-precious stones, and many embroidery were made by the specialists in embroidery who were first receiving the drawing, and then they were manually embroidering the fabric. So the prints and everything then was put together manually. Therefore, you will have some looks that are 100% handmade. And therefore, I'm showing you the traditional carpet and how the pattern of this traditional pattern of this carpet looks in the collection. Therefore, these are very interesting solutions. Each time they're very unexpected. And you see that there are some carpets of our very well-known authors. For example, this one was a project of our museum when we produced a carpet from undyed wool, and we were using only the colors of the natural wool of our sheep. So you see these very nice dresses embroidered also by hand. And here you see, for example, the pattern of our carpet, which turned into a very nice jacket. It's one of our most favorite Shabalabuta carpet, which is really very colorful, and you can see it actually in the same mood, in the same let's say pattern in the this is a Chelabi, Mayuma, which are very famous carpets, Azeri carpets as well. So you see, everything is handmade embroidery. I believe that it was a very successful project. And by the way, here you see Bazarik carpet, one of the most ancient carpets that is preserved up to today, which is stored and which is exhibited in the National Hermitage. And I believe that the artist was really made a very successful experiment, which is using the patterns of the national carpets of Azerbaijan. And of course, we are going to discuss other pret-a-porter projects and new collaboration for our museum.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you, Shireen. Irina is having some minor technical issue. Hopefully, she doesn't mind that I'll take on the moderation. Has been very interesting. And as I read in the comments, it's really nice that you work with such creative people who promote this heritage. Those who promote museums and promote this heritage. To some extent, this is some learning experience for the youth to show this very thin line between the culture and this creative industries. This is really cool. Arena, apologies, I just took over a little bit, so please take it back. Thank you. I was just thrown away, so I had to reconnect. Shireen, in fact, that this has been very unique presentation, and I think maybe because of my lack of education in art, I never paid enough attention to the carpet art. And I know when I come to Baku, I will immediately go straight to your museum. because this is how the history is written via the carpets, carpet weaving. So your designer, Rufat Ismailov, somehow he managed to convey this fashion industry, even made a screenshot of one of those dresses, and I'll try to find this one. Yes, there will be Pret-a-Porter collection, so we're waiting for it. You know, this is very proof of life heritage that we're all looking for. If intangible cultural heritage, we call it life heritage. Here you're giving us all that proof that says, look, this is heritage and this is alive. This is not in the past. This hasn't died away. It's got its own history. My chat disappeared. Some of the colleagues asked this question. If you can compare it on my page, updated, it's all disappeared. No question, everyone just expresses thanks, ask about some parallels. Well, of course, this is causing some reactions. But you know, I think there's some parallels here. It can reminisce with some miniature paintings, beautiful ladies from miniature paintings, but we need to check with the designers. I think this has also been this very interesting addition to the overall image. Yes, I remember the question. You said that your colleague Shingas created this new ornament. So the question was, how is that different? What's new? Well, he's got a brand new ornament, and we never had these before, but in terms of style, they look pretty much as traditional ones. And what's interesting is that it's got encoded a brand new sense. This is a brand new topic that must be discussed. And in the future, these carpets, well, maybe in the next generation, will have to decipher these codes because the messages are coded because artists they encoded one meaning and people encoded, deciphered this messages differently. So it all grows with different knowledge and symbols. Had this meeting with one of these artists in creative intelligentsia. He basically wasn't able to disclose his logic, so we tried to see what kind of sense people see in those carpets. Of course, carpets, unique result of the material culture that has the deeply rooted mental features. It's wonderful that in the creativity of modern artists can see that these topics are developing well because continuing doing the traditional carpets, we need to do this. But developing this type of art, specifically carpet as art, this is also one of the relevant goals of modern times. And the carpets may still be relevant, not just some artifact of the past that can only make some museum walls beautiful. Carpets can be relevant today. Aktutek is asking these ornaments for textiles and carpets. Are they different or you can easily integrate them? Of course, carpets has some textile-based ornaments. Carpet has its own forms and shapes, since textile can be several meters of fabric and mostly a repetition of a particular print. In the carpet, there is its own shape of composition that consists about the edges, well, of the lines encircling the middle. Often on the carpet, we can see the middle area and some repetitions that are present in textiles. So these are not mutually excluding, but mutually complementary, mutually complementing elements. Thank you very much for this valuable information, priceless information, really. I think everyone really enjoyed what they've seen. Please come to Baku. Online meetings, this is cool. We would like to thank you for this, but it's always would like to welcome you live. Yes, of course, we will come to you, heard about the rich history of Baku, and would like to see it with our own eyes. Thank you. Now I move to our final speaker for today, Ms. Sadat Ismailova, who is a representative of Uzbekistan. Sadat is a movie director, artist, who pays special attention to studying cultures and history of the whole of Central Asia. Most of her pieces and creative projects have the broad international renown, and they reflect on the cultural heritage of the region that is often forgotten about the common contemporary onslaught of information. So Sadat is trying to revive it in our rhythm of life. After the graduation from the Tashkent Institute of Arts, Sadat continued her studies in Italy. 2013, Sadat presented her first visual installation, Zuhra, at the Venetian Biennale. And at the Berlin Festival, she presented her first fully fledged movie, 40 Days of Silence, which later was featured at 35 international Kinofora, became the award winner, and this project, 40 Days of Silence, was supported by the Cannes Movie Festival, Center of Cinematography of France, becoming the first Uzbek movie receiving such a wide international acclaim. Sadat pays close attention to various ethnic details. She gets mesmerized by the number 40, Persian language. So she's here with us to tell us about the dialogues between generations as a source of inspiration. Arina, thank you very much for this wonderful introduction. Thank you for inviting me to this very interesting forum. Well, this is like a spiritual food for me. Really interesting to know what colleagues do in the neighborhood. I think the first point, my today conversation, discussion, these are intergenerational knowledge, which I believe is so important, and we do not always pay attention to it. Today we live in society that is more looking towards individuality. We spend little time within our families. And now when I have kids, I understand, I appreciate the connection I used to have with my grandmother. Well, previously, I understand this in a very naive way, but on the later stage, I started understanding this a little bit better. Well, more clearly that she passed on at the level of touches, smells, history, fairy tales. This was my particular launch. What I basically do, this is what she gave me. So what you can call a bedtime stories as we fall asleep, and those feelings as we fall asleep. I think they really set some certain value, no, set our values for life with regard to the other people, the way we develop our sensitivity. I think it all starts with the moment as we fall asleep. At least this is the way it worked, how it worked for me. So the issues of cultural heritage and what kind of role does it play in my creative work? Like I said, it was all embedded into me from the very childhood. Intuition and feelings, this is one thing, but you need to back it with the intelligence and education. Well, intuition and feelings, they can take you to the expression of your things. Well, this is not always like that. Of course, you will need to uh, back it with some education and some practice. Today, I'd like to talk about two projects which I made. They are not movie projects, not even short films. The first one, but both projects that are related to education and the idea of working with young ladies, young boys from the regions. This happened back in 2016, 2017, when the Aga Khan Foundation on the Development of Musical Creativity in Central Asia wanted to establish this some performance, have some musical play. That's when I proposed to them to make the special play 40 ladies. Dastan, the epic play, the women's legend. This legend of the region is famous for its women traditions. They are being forgotten, but we have lots of them. Hero women, and it's called 40 Girls. Of course, Arseny Tarkovsky translated this into Russian. Andrei Tarkovsky, the son of Andrei Tarkovsky, who used to be a Turkologist. So basically, I started working on Dastan, on this epos, and asked the foundation, well, I'm going to be looking for musical ladies from different countries of Central Asia to have some regional flavor. This particular contact that we accept that this is the single regional fabric. So I traveled across Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Turkmenistan, looking for some ladies. We invited 7 of these ladies, plus the Aga Khan Foundation. They made this noble gesture. They had this educational program for 1.5 years. We found these ladies, the masters of various musical schools, who are training young ladies for this theatrical play. Well, this work, the piece of 86 minutes, happened to be, well, I was very pleased with the result, but it seems to me the process itself was far more interesting of what is happening to these ladies, what they can learn out of this experience, emotional experience. Some of them, we asked them to learn to play musical instruments they had never played before. We expanded their repertoire. Basically, it was interesting thing, communicating to some musical professionals for 1.5 years. Hopefully, it will stay in their life and will give them some kind of professional stability. Here, I'd like to show you a little piece so that it doesn't sound completely abstract. There was yet one more point. This is like a legend in epos. Well, basically, it's easy to turn this into some graphical play, folk play, but I wanted to go further to make sure the work speaks from the stage, not just in the museum, so that it doesn't become a piece of museum exhibit. I'd like it, I wanted to make it contemporary. There was a premiere or debut at the Brooklyn's musical week. So basically, it wasn't like, basically, this is being accepted as contemporary experimental play. But these are all very delicate definitions that you can exploit as based on the way you think about it. Let me show a little piece. It might be much more interesting that way for our audiences. Hopefully you will be able to hear it.
Слышно или нет?
Не слышно.
Не
Да, нет.
слышно. Да, значит, мне нужно сделать так.
Нет, смотрите, у вас сверху есть 3 точечки в зуме.
Да.
Нажмите и использовать совместный звук компьютера. Вот
Так, у меня
вверху,
на
где
английском,
где микрофон у вас, где видео, и там есть 3 точки справа.
Да-да-да,
Используйте
я-
совместный звук компьютера.
А у меня просто на английском языке. Вот. Raise hand, disable annotation, hide names, video cannot hide floating. Share computer sound, да, наверное?
Да-да-да.
Давайте попробуем.
күші жетеді.
Слышно?
Жер,
Да, все окей.
от,
Ага.
су, я болмаса хауа. Даладан басқа жер жоқ. Дала, сен мәңгілік пәксің. Сенің іреңің менің ернімнің іреңі. Науқасым іреңі. Менің ернім қатаң, еркелеуді білмеген. Сенің қатаң денең өзіңнен ителер. Менің жылы аяқларымды. Қанша оңай, сенің үстіңде шау, жуыру. Еркін шаусам, сен аңсат жұлдызларға ұласып. О жер, маған баспана бер. Анам болма, жануар болма. Құсқа, балыққа сатпа мені. Біздер апа-сіңлілерміз. Сіңлім менің дала. Мен сенде саған қашарман. Сенен саған жасырынуға. Анам болма, жануар болма. Біздер апа-сіңлілерміз. Сіңлім менің дала. Құсқа, балыққа сатпа мені.
Пар жақсы әңгіме балы шекеремен тағы сөз таптырмайды. Нағыз түріден алғаулы биақылдың сөзі келемек бейне бір шыққан шөктие сорытан жеренген. Не болар екі көздің бірінен соң ағаның сәні болмас ініден соң. Шапанда жалғыз біткен бәйтеректей көрігі жоқ судыраған бірінен соң уадари қайтып сонда бірігересің астында. Жатып жердің шіріген соң.
Сейчас я остановлю. Большой кусок мне было очень
So it was a very short episode that was very important for me to demonstrate to you, because you see that all the girls are playing traditional musical instruments, and they are representing the traditional musical trends. For example, the girl who was singing in the Kazakh language, when I was listening to her, probably she tried 8 times to start singing, and she failed each time. But when she was actually singing, we understood that she is like a diamond, and we have to help her, because there is a lot of talent in this girl, but we need to train her and to help her to disclose all her talents. And during this period of time, they actually improved greatly. They started at the age of 16, and during 2 years they um, refined their skills. And another girl, she was also um, uh, a student of the conservatoire. And I wanted also to say one more saying. We do not speak our mother tongue because we believe that we communicate with each other and understand each other very well. But I believe that with Tajikistan, probably the situation is a little bit different. However, this experiment was pretty interesting, because these girls belong to the generation which was born after the disintegration of the Soviet Union. And therefore, I've seen that in 2 or 3 weeks after we started this project, many of them were speaking different languages. Somebody was speaking Uzbek, others Kazakh or Karakalpak language, and there is no other means for them to communicate with each other. So this movement between the languages is absolutely seamless, and therefore we can create one regional language, and without any difficulty. So we can switch from Uzbek to Kazakh, from Kazakh to Karakalpak, and it's the same topic. And the performance has this potential. We have been showing this performance in France, in the USA. And for me, it was even more exciting to show this performance in Tashkent, because I believe that the actresses, they know this topic, and the public and the spectators in Uzbekistan can assess it. They accepted it very well. But then the pandemic started, and everything was suspended. The girls have got married. And one more project about which I will tell very briefly. It is also related with the educational problem issues. It is called Mahalla. This is the magazine that I published jointly with young girls and guys from Tashkent. It was an educational program under the Center of Modern Arts in Tashkent, which was established in 2020. Yes, so we started shortly before the pandemic, and then we did not understand what to do and how to continue those educational programs. And then we decided to be focused on this publication. And it is called Tashkent Futures. It's the speculations of young girls and guys about Tashkent. But this publication is very important for me as well, because it was a part of the Uzbek pavilion in the architecture 2 weeks, for which we invited also some curators from the West, because Mahala means actually the traditional blocks among the settled ethnic groups in housings made of clay. Of course, we can studied from the academic point of view, and it is really very important to document it and to transfer it to the next generations. But for me, what was really very relevant is to understand the perception of the use. Perception of the use of mahala when we talk about rituals, habits, understandings, interpretations, and maybe some superstitions, something that is intangible. What is mahala in 40 words? And we decided to make this publication, and it was done very easily. And Tashkent is subdivided into the old city and the new city, because the new city is not so much integrated into the old Tashkent, and many of these girls and guys from the laboratory are from the new Tashkent. But even when I was observing the process, I think that they were having some problems with some traditional codes, with the language, and even I had a feeling that they were not. They had a feeling of a lack of protection. So there were a lot of very interesting processes that we have to overcome, even though the old city of Tashkent is very hospitable, nice and warm, because you will always be very much welcome there, and people will feed you. They will have some tea with you, and this very small publication was a kind of process for me to enable the young people to look inside of themselves and understand their culture. I think that the issue of cuisine, for example, today the youth knows much better the taste of Coca-Cola and hamburger rather than budget or katlama, which is the bread. Therefore, for me, the issue of taste is also the definition of culture. You have to understand it and to know about it. What is the taste of dishes and cuisine that is your typical, which is particular of your culture. And it was very interesting for me to observe how the kids were getting involved into it. For example, they didn't know even about the old games such as langa or the kites. Again, I wanted to tell you about this project. So these two projects, Kyrgyz and Mahala Sorak, are two projects in which I was working with representatives of youth, and where it was very important for me to understand that they will be able to take a look at their cultural heritage, and that for creative inspiration, it is very important to take a look inside of yourself. Yes, of course, you have to understand the tendencies, you have to understand what the people think about now in the USA, in the West European countries, or in China. But I think that it will be a huge mistake if we replicate or imitate these countries, because we really have to take a very close look at our cultural heritage first. And then we need to understand the limit or the frameworks in which an artist or a musician will be able to present it in the artistic language, and it will be a kind of reinterpretation. It will depend on reinterpretation. I think that with the Kazakh music, it is really very easy to do so, because it is very minimalistic, and it is very easy to interpret it in modern musical trends. I think that this is it for me. Sadat, yes, indeed, it was very interesting. And it was very interesting to learn about the projects that you are supervising, because indeed, I think that your project is keeping kind of creative mystery. And when you learn about it willy-nilly, you start thinking, oh goodness, how it can be presented and how it can be implemented, and at the same time to bring a lot of benefit and to contribute to different cultures. And I would like to note also, just like other listeners, the parallel that you made at the very beginning concerning the cultural heritage, which is transferred in your families, indeed invaluable. And I think that it was really very cool to learn about it, and all the guys will also share my stance. And even I don't see any questions, because everybody is admiring everything that you do. And therefore, I would like to thank you one more time. And with this very pleasant conclusion, I would like to wind up our today's session, because it's a kind of digital legacy of our bureau. And I believe that this recording we can listen several times in several years as well, because different people have different perception. Our standpoints, our outlook is changing, and we start perceiving different things in a different way. But I believe that today we managed to have a very productive dialogue. We've been listening to very cool cases, and I believe that even the panelists have got inspired by each other. And indeed, it is really amazing how creative industries today are getting their inspiration in the cultural heritage, and maybe without any specific purpose to transfer it to the future generation, but they do so. And this is why I hope that all participants who were present at our today's meeting will also be inspired by everything that you do, by the way you are safeguarding the cultural heritage and the way you are interpreting it through the prism of your creative activity. And I think that there is plenty of things that we can learn from you, and you will have successes. I'm pretty sure that the social sector will be keeping an eye on your activities and its outcomes. And I would like also to express a very deep feeling of gratitude to my colleagues from the cultural sector, Aygul, Khalafova, and Majer, because without you, I wouldn't have been able to meet such creative and nice people. And finally, I would also like to tell you that this recording is going to be replayed on the 23rd of October in Nanjing, in Nanjing Forum, and therefore today we had simultaneous interpretation into English. So everybody know each other, and we are inviting everybody to Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. Therefore, let's be cultural friends and make one big cultural family, and let us preserve everything that we received from our ancestors. So thank you very much. And if somebody would like to add anything, any final words, 1, 2, 3, no one wants. Probably you've got exhausted, you are too tired. Therefore, I would like to wish everybody a very nice evening, because it's already evening. Anissa, I believe that it's only daytime in your country. Therefore, I would like to wish you a very nice and sunny day in London. Munzifar would like to say a few words. Do you have anything to add? Do you have an opportunity to talk? Yes. Yes, sure. We are really very glad to hear you. I don't know if you see me, but do you hear me? Yeah, we hear you, but we don't see you. Okay, no problem. The most important thing that I would like to mention is that our today's webinar is really very special for me because I am working in this particular area as a teacher. I am a teacher of the institute, but what is really a huge advantage of our UNESCO Cluster Bureau is that you manage to find very nice presenters because they are very young. And secondly, the gender balance, and I hope that men will not be offended by me, is really observed here. And they are really very creative and smart, and they are feeding us with so much positive emotions, which are inspiring us to learn more. And Cluster Bureau, really, you are a very nice team. You arranged everything in the best possible way. Many people did not manage, many of our guys did not manage to get connected to this webinar because in our institute they are upgrading the internet cables. I've seen only Farouk here, but what I wanted to tell you and why I mentioned the importance of the family, you know, I visited Azerbaijani museum, but today all our speakers provided us with such a vast volume of information, which is inspiring all of us. And I would like to say a few words. Probably you know that we had an official visit of our president to Paris, and there was also conducted an exhibition in Gemay Museum. Tajikistan is the country of rivers, and we brought a lot of artifacts that are exhibited there, and that will surprise not only Parisians but other visitors as well. I'm pretty sure they will be amazed at our very rich heritage. And I would like also to congratulate you on the 85th anniversary of UNESCO. And it was great to have this exhibition that was showing, demonstrating the objects of cultural heritage of Tajikistan. We had the kaleidoscope of cultures, intercultural dialogue, and on the initiative of the Ministry of Education, we have already published the textbook intercultural dialogue in modern world, and it is giving a lot of examples of what is happening now in Central Asia in this respect, and it is demonstrating that we are so much interacted with India, with China, with the countries of our region, because it is our ancient old history, and every one of us has something to say about the language, about the utilities, about the intangible heritage, and the fact that we also added up some more information into the textbook. And really, you inspired me so much that there will be a recording of this meeting, which I for sure will play back to my students. And I wish to have many more such webinars. Thank you very much, Munzifar, for your very high appreciation, and we will try to see more frequently each other. Okay, dear colleagues, we'll keep in touch. And for me, it was a great honor to moderate this session. And thank you very much for your trust and confidence in me. I hope it's not our last meeting in this format. And I wish everybody good luck and a very pleasant evening. And I think that today we had a very cool meeting. Myself, I was really very much pleased with it. Thank you very much, distinguished speakers. I was also very glad to see and hear all of you. It was really very touchy. It was nice, interesting, and inspiring. Shirin Saadat, Anisa, Cholpon, thank you very much to all of you. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Goodbye. All the best. Goodbye. All the best to everybody, and thank you very much for organizing this event.